Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we're not only revisiting the city of Oakland, but we're actually revisiting the very same area in the city of Oakland where we've seen a bunch of different various crimes shut down a bunch of businesses, including In-N-Out, the first In-N-Out ever in the history of the company, 76 years, to be shut down. Well, this gas station that we're going to talk about is right across the street from it. So we're going to get into what's going down over here, but before we do, thank you to everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Frustration and disbelief. A gas station in Oakland raided by dozens of robbers. The owner says police are not responding until several hours later.
So right off the top, I just want to point out how chaotic the scene that the local news media is greeting us with actually is. So we have a gas station, small store attached to it, and what you see on this video for my podcast listeners is about 70 people, according to the reporting, in every place in the store, taking stuff, trashing the place, having a good time. And the most disgusting part about this to me is that it took 4 hours for the police to respond to a crime in this area. Now, to me, there's absolutely no excuse for this 4-hour timetable. Obviously, that is way too long. Even if you had a major event on the other side of the city, you would expect that somebody from one of the precincts would be able to show up and deal with this. But it's even crazier because this happened in the very same area that we've covered so many times on this channel, where the In-N-Out is that closed, and all these other different various stores are that closed due to the massive amounts of car break-ins, robberies, and all sorts of crimes that have been happening to tourists in and around this area.
To Oakland, where concerns about crime at their only In-N-Out right by the airport has caused the company to decide to close the location for good. In-N-Out is just the latest in a long line of businesses that have shut down in the last year, citing crime as a driving factor.
In fact, we just did a video about how a Hilton is closing up, the airport Hilton, because of the crime that is in and around this area, and we listened to people who frequent that specific Hilton hotel, and they said straight up that they don't even fill up gas in and around this area due to the rampant crime.
It makes me sad. This is my go-to place to stay. It's very convenient. It's right across the street from the airport, but frankly, I'm not super surprised. I stopped gassing up my cars before I returned my rental cars in this area probably 2 years ago.
Wall said the front desk workers at the hotel advised her to gas up elsewhere.
So this is what we call a hotspot, and considering the CompStat system was invented in the late 80s and late 90s, where you map crime geographically and you send police officers to target those high crime areas, there is no excuse for the police not already being in this area.
Things has to be fixed somehow. Things has to be, the citizen of Oakland has to have some security.
Thankfully, no one working in that store was hurt. So far, no arrests have been reported.
And the next thing that really annoys me about this particular story is what you just heard right there. No arrests. 0 arrests. You have surveillance video, 70 people participating in a crime, and the Oakland PD can't make an arrest in this particular situation. And again, a lot of people on this channel will say, Sean, you know what? Oakland was always terrible. It always had a horrible reputation. It was never going to get any better. This is just Oakland being Oakland. But the fact of the matter is, we actually saw reports in 2016, 2017, leading up to the Black Lives Matter riots, where everything changed, where everything got worse, where they decided to defund the Oakland police, lost a bunch of officers and all of that, that Oakland's crime was dropping to levels not seen in the previous 40 years.
Oakland leaders releasing the annual crime data report, which they say shows a steady 5-year decline in shootings, homicides, and robberies. There were 75 homicides occurring in Oakland last year. That is down from 85 in 2016, and that follows that downward trend. 2016 brought a 12% drop in violent crime versus the 5-year average, and a 20% drop in robberies.
We actually showed you those reports on this channel of Oakland getting better, and one of the things that they credited to Oakland getting better was an increase in police presence from the Oakland PD.
The police department has credited the improvement on a more prominent police presence and getting help from the community with better technology technology, more residents and business owners are giving police video evidence of crime.
So to be clear, this is a regression. Oakland was getting better. It was improving. A lot of people from San Francisco that were priced out of that area, who were wealthy people who actually were successful, who had stable jobs, moved into Oakland. And this is a huge problem that was basically made by the Oakland government. Not only the Tao administration, but the administration that preceded it that actually initiated all of these BLM related reforms.
And the owner tells me he's sharing his story and sharing the surveillance video to let everyone know how bad things have gotten, and he's demanding action. Surveillance video shows a brazen flash mob style robbery of the 76 gas station mini market on Hagenberger Road in Oakland. It happened early Friday morning around 4 o'clock. Dozens of people ransacked the store. Owner Sam Marday tells me the free-for-all lasted about 40 minutes.
So I want to make something clear for everybody out there in my audience, especially those lingering left-wingers that like to comment to contradict everything that I say and excuse all manner of criminality. And that is the idea that, oh, well, this is no big deal because on the front of this store it says BP or Sunoco or Exxon or whatever company that the gas is actually coming from. Therefore, they're a large corporation and they're probably price gouging us. Therefore, this is perfectly excusable behavior. To be clear, that gas portion of the business, the person inside the store makes very little money off of that. The whole business for these individuals is in this mini mart. That is the small business. That is how that person can be profitable. The gas is just something that brings you in. So what they're actually ransacking is not the big corporation, whatever company that may be, that is selling the gas on the front of the sign. They're actually attacking the small business owner in an area that is already drying up due to similar attacks like this. So this chaos right here impacts a real tangible person, not some number on a corporate board, but a small business owner who is just trying to actually feed his family. I know a lot of people look at these criminals and say that they're Aladdin and they're trying to feed their starving family. They're trying to feed their pet monkey Abu, but I can tell you for a fact, those people are thugs and criminals. They're absolute monsters who are not only stealing everything from this particular store, but they're absolutely trashing the place. And places like this can't get insurance due to the high rates of violent crime in this particular area. Again, something that we've covered in Oakland, in California before.
This is the hardest thing you could ever go through, you know, especially if you've been put in sweat and tears day in, day out.
So here's the guy, here's the man, here's the person who invested in this area, opened up a business, and is feeling the threat to his livelihood, not to mention the physical threats from these thieves that decided that they wanted to terrorize this particular location. And for those of you who are saying, well, he needed to take better precautions, and he needed to watch out, maybe not even open up the store at these hours of the evening, well, guess what? You're 100% right about that. He actually did that. In fact, this started with them breaking into the store because they were only doing window service prior to this, but these people just smashed their way in.
This 24-hour business was offering only window service during the overnight hours. But Marday says the thieves broke in through the front door while 2 employees were inside.
You can see the shattered glass right here. This is the way they entered.
So right here, you guys can see for yourself, they ended up smashing the glass, busting into this location. There were 2 employees in at the time. Obviously, no match for 70 people. And this is an instance, by the way, where I would definitely recommend obtaining a firearm because one person getting capped in this particular area would scare off the rest of these monsters.
He shared this video of the damage left by the thieves. They emptied shelves and display cases of merchandise.
But other than the deterrent of a firearm, maybe having the police to hold people accountable for basically a riot that went on in this store would be nice. But instead, these people were allowed to ransack this whole entire store for 40 minutes and the police didn't show up for 4 hours. And there are no arrests, no consequences. It's Oakland, California, so even if there were arrests, Pamela Price would refuse to prosecute those people. There would be no consequences for that. And California wouldn't allow these people to go to prison. So these employees have to feel terrorized by those 70 individuals. And the store owner has to be out of his life's work because these innocent angels needed to trash his business in order to feed their starving family.
He shared this video of the damage left by the thieves. They emptied shelves and display cases of merchandise, along with cash totaling $25,000 from the register and the ATM that had just been filled for the holiday weekend.
So one of the things that I often like to point out about these particular stores is the fact that they not only end up taking all the stuff that they can possibly take, but they also also destroy it, and that's because this is fun. This is done for entertainment. But in this particular story, it's actually really unfortunate because not only did they loot the cash register, but the ATM was recently filled for the holiday weekend, or for the holiday that was coming up, the 4th of July, because it's happened a little bit before then. And guess what? They were able to nab $25,000 plus all the damage in merchandise that this location suffered. And again, this is likely an uninsurable place. Now, unfortunately for this individual, he ended up taking over this location last August. If I were advising him back then, since I was covering stories in this particular neighborhood back then, I would have told him not to do that, because the person who offloaded this store to him made out like a bandit, because this area is absolutely worthless considering the people that live here, the absolute animals that like to destroy like this, that make business completely unviable in this location.
Marday says he and his family had just taken over this business last August.
Building yourself for the last 10 months, and then you're back to square one.
He tells me he is aware that this area is a hotspot for thieves because of its proximity to the Oakland airport, and travelers are considered easy targets.
I did not think it's this terrible.
So he says he was aware of some of the problems in and around this area. He was aware of the fact that a lot of the tourists are getting robbed because they're near the Oakland airport, but he never possibly imagined that it would get this bad. Maybe he would suffer a robbery here and there, but he was willing to risk that in order to deal with the increase in traffic in this particular area. But the fact of the matter is, even he is surprised by the criminality of Oakland.
Marday suspects the thieves are people who participated in a sideshow in the area. He says police did not respond to the robbery until almost 9 hours later.
So this is another thing that I think is quite notable about this, because what you're seeing is problems in places like Oakland that are frequent all across California that compound on one another. So when they say sideshow or whatever, what they're actually talking about is one of those street takeovers. So all of these people were committing a previous crime in a large group, blocking off traffic in and around this area, putting people in danger, and the police didn't intervene there, and then they go to participate in this robbery. And for some reason, we were told in the beginning of the segment that the response time was 4 hours. Well, now it appears that it's 9 hours. So the police were derelict in their duty in terms of the street takeover, and now they also failed right here at this location, costing this man over $25,000, $25K in cash, plus all the merchandise, plus all the damage.
While we were at the store Friday afternoon, a police unit pulled up and parked in the lot. We were told it is part of the violence suppression unit stationed at known crime hotspots.
I have to say, honestly, that really pisses me off. This is the violent suppression unit. They are parked at known hotspots. What did we talk about in the beginning? About how CompStat was invented in the late 80s to the early 90s, and the whole premise was you map crime geographically, and then you send the police to guard those areas. Remember what I said about how the cops should already have been there? Well, guess what? Now there's a police officer here after the robbery, parked out front, trying to deter crime from happening, but in broad daylight. Now, to be clear, crime happens in and around this area in broad daylight, car break-ins and all that. That's one of the reasons why In-N-Out is completely shut down. Again, that In-N-Out right across the street from this particular location, but these people should have been there at the moment in time when the crime was actually going down. They should have responded much quicker. This was a 40-minute reign of terror on these people. They had time to bust open the ATM, get all the cash out of it, and the cops showed up 9 hours after the fact. But now, for the cameras, they're there, even though this whole area has been completely tarnished and destroyed by these criminals. This will be, if it closes down, maybe the dozenth store, maybe the 15th store that closed down in and around this area, and it's absolutely shameful. You should be able to run a gas station right near the airport in the United States of America, a hotel right near the airport in the United States of America, restaurants and In-N-Out. All of that should be standard fare, but it's not standard fare due to the fact that this area is just full of criminals that remain completely unchecked by law enforcement. This is what happens when you remove consequences for crime. You get more crime, unsurprisingly.
City Council member Treva Reed, who represents the area, issued a statement saying, in part, "I continue to advocate and work to secure increased public safety resources and response, urging the mayor to prioritize our district's demands.
Now, normally when I see a representative calling for a better police response to this particular situation, what I ultimately end up doing is looking up their voting record in terms of how they voted to defund, reform, reallocate funding from the police. But the thing is, this woman, we've actually talked about her before because we've talked about this area so many times on this channel, did not vote to reallocate those funds. She's been on the right side of this issue from day one, but she's been overwhelmed by the rest of the Oakland legislature, by the previous mayor, and by the current mayor in this regard. So she keeps saying, hey, there's a hotspot right in the middle of my district. Can you please send Oakland police there? And she keeps getting rejected by the corrupt mayor, both the current and the previous, and that is just what the residents in this area have to deal with.
Well, as of right now, we don't see any improvements. Not even a little bit. Hopefully, the right people will hear this message and start making the right moves, to save the city.
What are you going to do now, moving forward?
Rebuild and pray.
So the store owner says, hopefully people will see this and then all of a sudden they'll start making the right moves in order to save the city, in order to save this area. But he has not seen any improvement in and around this area in a long time since he's been there. But the fact of the matter is, nobody is going to improve after this. Nobody's going to change anything, and the reason why is because they don't care. You think when In-N-Out made national news headlines for closing the first location that had ever closed in its 76-year history right across the street, that could have been a jumping off point for people to do something about this? You think when those dine-in restaurants shifted to takeout only, again, just across the street from this location, and that made national news, maybe that would have inspired some change? There's nothing getting done in this particular area. All the mayor is interested in doing is saying, oh, we sent a violence prevention unit to that area for like 25 minutes and no crime occurred while they were there. Then we pulled them away and the crime happened again, but that's really all that we can do. This is what happens when you have terrible government. This is what happens when you have bad people, honestly, in your city that need to be locked up, need to be removed from society, and you don't have the political will to do so. And by the way, I will point out that it's not just the mayor, it's not just the defunding of the Oakland police, it's not just the Alameda County District Attorney Pamela Price, but it's also all the way to the California State Legislature and to the governor, who obviously are refusing to do anything about this and have further enabled the criminal by preventing any of them from being sent to prison for what they call non-violent felonies, despite the fact that many of them are violent. This was a violent attack. If you're arrested for this, you should go to jail. It was also a massive theft. Again, over $25,000 in just cash, should be grand larceny, should be robbery, should be an aggravated robbery because that many people represent a deadly force threat, but you're not even seeing any arrests. And if you did see arrests, you wouldn't see prosecution. And if you did see prosecution, none of these people would go to prison. They would be sent to county jail based on a California law, and there's no room in the county jail, so they just be released onto the streets. This is what California has brought us. This is what Oakland has brought us, and it's absolutely shameful. And this is why I don't expect this area to get any better. Honestly, it might actually be over for Oakland for life based on this, because once all these businesses shutter, once all the damage is done, the cost to operate even a new business after the area is fixed will be so high that people are just not going to want to do it. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about yet another flash mob robbery in Oakland. Till next time.